In this way, it's very much like a representative democracy, because a democratic state is, in principle, owned by the people, who elect politicians to do work on their behalf. And just like investors do within a corporation, the people put money into the state. But the problem is we're not really treated like owners. Thus, we live in a situation where wealthy owners of vast corporations can vote fairly frequently on the billions they spend, but where the people in what some claim to be the world's first democracy have only had 2 referenda in our entire history on matters concerning the whole of the UK. So within corporations, investors feel empowered. Within democracies, people, voters, feel disempowered, disenfranchised. Shareholders actually have officially recognised rights to vote on issues that affect the corporation as a whole. And yet the people in democracy we want the world to look up to have very little voice. So is it really any wonder that when revolutionaries across the Middle East were asked whether they wanted a British or American democracy, the common reply was no, we want something better? The Arab revolutions and Occupy protests are in fact indicative of the times we're living in. Neither would have been possible without modern technologies and the ability to engage the masses. Indeed, people are already calling this era today an information revolution, thus comparing it to the Industrial Revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries. And it's a profound comparison. The Industrial Revolution started here in the UK and took us from a world where economic growth averaged 0% per annum to a world in which it averaged 2 to 3% in the industrialised world. It took us from a world with millions to a world with billions a day. Cars on the road, phones in homes, and planes in the sky. None of this could have been possible without that revolution. And now they're saying we're in a new one. But think about what the Industrial Revolution was and what it did. In essence, it harnessed the intellectual and creative capacity of that 1%. Those people with the resources to open factories and seize the ideas of the day, harnessing the manual capacities of the majority at the same time. And maybe then it did have to be that way. They were the people with the economic voice. They had the ability to shout out their ideals the loudest and be heard by the world. But is the 1% any more intelligent? We're all people. We all have the same emotional and intellectual range of capabilities. We all have ideas about our work, our economy, our social environment, and also our politics, our local areas. It's just that at the time of the Industrial Revolution, only the 1% were well enough informed and educated to come up with such ideas and act upon them. But hang on a minute. If we're in an information revolution, then aren't times different today? Doesn't that 99%, the rest of us, all have that level of education and information? The answer is that every day we have more information at our fingertips. And so entrepreneurialism in the economy, and also real democracy in the political world, they become more and more possible every single day. We should be more and more optimistic about our futures every day. And yet, unfortunately, some of the best-selling political books are in fact about how society is becoming more unequal, more unjust. And whole groups of people are becoming excluded. I'm sure you can think of many books. I'm thinking of things like Chavs, The Demonisation of the Working Class, Scapegoat, Why We're Failing Disabled People. And there are a number of books about homeless people and the homebound, which unfortunately didn't become bestsellers. Now, the people these books talk about are usually represented by Labour. But too often populism, rather than democracy, guides the biggest parties. And so Miliband was persuaded to call the benefits community